What up, Bulls Nation? Peck here. We got a live CHGO Bulls pregame coming up for y'all right around the corner. Bulls, first game back after the All-Star break, taking on the Knicks at MSG. And get this, Bulls 2-0 against the Knicks so far this season. You heard that right. We've also got a Patrick Williams injury update. Not good news there. We're going to break it all down next. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls pregame. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Dave. Bow. BWL Sports. Bow. Will to go Gottlieb, perfectly coiffed. Will_Gottlieb. Queen of the controls, one and only Katie Duffy. What up, Katie?
Hi.
Woo! Back in action, y'all. Who's excited?
Me.
Dave's excited.
Damn right.
Dave's always excited. I mean, it's Bulls Knicks, man.
Yeah.
This used to mean something.
You know what's funny? I never realized till I just saw it in writing and paid attention to it that it's Times Square.
Yeah.
I always just say Times Square. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think Times Square. And now it feels dumber.
Right. Well, because the S at the end of Times and the S at the beginning of Square just always kind of blend together.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Times Square.
Times Square.
Times Square. Tom Cruise.
Forrest Gump.
Hey, well done. Will Gottlieb.
We're back.
My former job location.
Times Square.
As I'm telling you at the bottom of the page.
Times Square.
Times Square. Knicks suck.
Yeah, they do.
Oh.
They've lost to the Bulls twice this season. That's the definition of a team sucking. You've taken 2 L's to the Bulls. Ouch. Sometimes you got to laugh at yourself and also laugh at other people.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's start with this. We got an injury update from Bulls PR today on Patrick Williams, who had that banged knees play in their last game before the All-Star break. We heard from Billy and Pat after the game, I believe. That was a home game. You were there. Sounded like it was like, no big deal. Like, he'll be fine. And then also was listed as being a full participant in practices earlier this week before they headed out to New York. And then in classic Bulls injury update fashion,
It is classic.
out of nowhere, they say, here's a medical update. Patrick Williams has received a platelet-rich plasma, or PRP, injection to treat tendinosis in his right knee. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So that's great.
It's so Bulls. Like, you're right. It's so Bulls. Like, Tuesday practice, Wednesday practice, Thursday might never play again.
Thursday cast.
It is so Bulls to see this happen. Of course, I feel bad for Patrick Williams, regardless of how I feel of him as a player. I don't ever want his health jeopardized or anything like that. And it's even more concerning that this stuff is now, again, something dealing with the lower extremities with Patrick Williams. First, he had the wrist injury. Obviously, it's not a lower extremity on your wrist, but the foot injury he had to deal with. He's definitely sat out before with knee issues. He sat out this year with knee issues. So, yeah, man, it sucks that he's got to get this stuff, and he's, 23 years old? And that's pretty young for that kind of thing. Immediately you think of guys like Lonzo. I thought of Zach LaVine and his situation. Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks for injuries. Again, regardless of how I feel about what he's been doing this season, I don't want to see him go down because of injury or anything like that. So, yeah, it's tough, but they'll reevaluate in 2 weeks. And I'm not going to say the other phrase after they reevaluate because I hate hearing it.
You'll argue.
R-A-M-P-U-P.
That one.
Rip up.
But, yeah,
Hopefully, the streets.
hopefully he can get back, man.
Yeah, it's weird. I talked to him after the game where he got hurt, and he was saying, like, it was fine, basically, but he just wasn't moving as well as he wanted to. And they took some images, and everything was negative. And then you have a week-long break. All of a sudden, we're back at practice on Wednesday. We asked Billy, how's everything going? Anybody miss practices? How's Patrick doing? He missed some time. He's been fine. He practiced the other 2 days. and, nothing really to see here. And so then today, obviously the news drops, and it is a little bit surprising. Knee tendinosis was the diagnosis. Basically, just looking that up on Google, because I don't really know what that means, is that it's jumper's knee, and it's inflammation in the tendon that connects the kneecap to the shin. So I think in a world where they don't treat this or don't give him any time, this could get worse. He could maybe tear a tendon. That's obviously a huge deal, but 2-week reevaluation, I think not the end of the world. We'll just have to see. But to your point, Dave, I mean, this is now multiple lower body injuries in the same calendar year. That's just not what you want to see as a guy.
No.
Like, tries to get himself back in full game shape. Like, it feels like he had the surgery, he had the rehab, the summer, he wasn't really able to participate in everything. And then he gets back out there. He plays the first month of the year. He's playing too many minutes. He's got to ramp down, ramp up, ramp down.
Yeah.
And then
he was out for what, like 10 games or so?
He took a full month off.
Yeah.
And now it's another handful of games, and he's back out. Obviously, there was like an actual injury with this, right? It wasn't like a non-contact thing. He got hit in the knee. So hopefully it's just like some bruising, and it will be better in 2 weeks' time. But not what you want to hear for a guy who's definitely had some like recurring lower body issues.
Yeah, and somebody they truly believe in, as far as
not to mention somebody they just invested in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's their future. So you definitely want to hear this.
The one guy on their roster beyond next year.
Modest Buzelis is wingman.
Get one
So yeah, people in the comments chiming in. Our guy Fish saying, "Yikes!" Force Within saying Pat being out does not help the tank. Probably referencing the fact that Pat's not been giving them the best minutes out there. Colin Colling saying, shout out to Marquette. Pat is only 23, guys. It's okay. Plenty of time to rehab this injury and still blossom. He's only 23. That is accurate. He's 23 and a half, essentially. He'll be 24 in August.
On his way to adulthood.
Ramon Fong, perhaps a medical expert of some kind, chiming in the comments saying, for a tendon issue, probably he will need more than 2 weeks.
And that's why they say reevaluate
in 2 weeks.
It's never just he'll be back in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. They reevaluated Lonzo Ball in whatever amount of weeks that was.
Oh my God, did they ever? Every week was.
Then we all woke up from 10-year comas. What? He's still out? Shout out to Lonzo. Glad he's back.
Who's president?
Curious, by the way,
in the starting lineup today.
I was just going to
alongside Giddey, Kobe, Modest, and Vooch.
So, wow. That's interesting.
Say it again, please.
Lonzo, Giddey, Kobe, Modest, Vooch.
So Giddey, Kobe, Modest.
3 guards, Modest, and Vooch.
Okay.
Gross.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do they do at this point? Like, you can't really
that
bench.
Part, though.
You can't bench Kobe.
So that means that Io moves back to a bench role. With Lonzo returning, and they leave Modest in the starting lineup.
Correct.
They meaning Billy, which I'm fine with.
No, I'm fine with that.
Billy, pick whichever 3 guards you want.
Yeah.
But it better be freaking Modest in that 4 for the rest of the season. Starting lineup.
You got a lot of guards to choose from, my man. Oh, my God. Your starting lineup could be all guards if you like. Actually, your first 9 players could be guards if you like. Oh, my God. It's ridiculous.
But so, yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Obviously, we wish the best for Pat. Hopefully, it is not much more than 2 weeks and he comes back from this. But the bigger question is, as we're talking about tonight's starting lineup, what his absence will do impact-wise on Billy's rotation and who's getting how many minutes. Because even in the 9 games since Pat moved from the starting lineup to a bench role, in those 9 games coming off the bench, he was still averaging nearly 25 minutes a game.
Correct.
So where do those 25 minutes go? What does Billy do with those 25 minutes? And I can already, I'm sure, hear the Bulls fans in the comments saying, I swear to God, if he gets more minutes from Pat's 25 to another guard, I'm going to lose my mind.
What else is he supposed to do? Like, that's the roster. I don't have a problem. Like, I know the guard thing. They have a lot of guards on the roster. I don't really, have a problem with that. They have some forwards, too. None of them, nobody, it's the same as, when you have 2 quarterbacks. Right? Yeah. Then you have 0 quarterbacks.
Correct.
They just don't have any.
But they don't have 6 point guards.
Yeah, but but Kobe can play off guard.
I know.
Io can play off guard.
I know.
Right.
Giddey and Lonzo are kind of like your 2 traditional point guards. Obviously, bring in Trey Jones, who's likely not a long-term piece here. Javon Carter's been out of the rotation. He's not playing. England is a wing. And
we've barely seen any Zach Collins since he arrived in the trade. Billy's talked about it on numerous occasions about trying to figure out how to work him into the rotation and whether or not he can make Collins and Vooch work on the floor together.
Yeah.
Because we know that unless it's desperation or very specific matchup choices, given their opponent, Billy stays away from two big lineups. He just does.
Yeah, it's his thing.
But I mean, I think he goes with where he feels like he can get an advantage. And like last year, the Bulls, one of their primary advantages was offensive rebounding. And so to play Vooch and Drummond together made some sense. Now their primary advantage is running and shooting a lot of threes. Yeah. And so when you have multiple ball handlers that can get up the floor, get you into your offense, drive, kick, and space the floor, like it makes more sense to not have two bigs out there. So there, maybe Jalen Smith does get some time at the 4. Like I think a lot of people consider him more of a 4 than a 5. To me, he's a 5 just because
a 5.
He's like, that's where his value is. Like having shooting from the 5 position is much more valuable than having it from the 4 position. From the 4, it's like more of a necessity than a luxury. And so he gives you that from the 5. Collins, I mean, he's been in the league for a handful of years. He's had bad injuries. He's never really popped as a player anywhere. I don't really look at him as like we need to evaluate. He's not like, to me, a part of the future. So like even like Herter, maybe you try to rehab his value a little bit. Trey, maybe could be a sign and trade. Like none of these guys are really fixtures of the future or somebody that you're going to get something for if you try to flip them this summer. So for me, it's like, it's less about fitting guys in and it's more about just play the guys that you think are going to give you something in 2 years' time and like try to make space for those guys. And if Jalen Smith is going to be here and Vooch isn't, like maybe you lean more into Jalen Smith. Yeah. If it's Kobe and Ayo and Giddey, then you got to see what those 3 look together. So it's more about just thinking long term as opposed to me thinking about like specific, lineups or combinations or advantages that they're trying to push. Because again, to me, that's not the point here.
I get it. And if that's the case, then we should see more Dalen. We should see more Julian Phillips.
Right. Maddie.
See more of these guys.
And Forrest within the comments both saying the same thing. We should, especially considering once the new guys arrived in the trade and Billy started giving them minutes, like Dalen and Julian disappeared.
Went away. So why?
But that's like the evaluation part that we're talking about. And this is what Billy was talking about yesterday.
Billy doesn't want to do.
Well, no, that's what he's doing. He's sacrificing Dalen and Julian's minutes, but what he's not doing is sacrificing Vooch and Lonzo's minutes. And that's, I think, the issue that we were talking about yesterday, which is like...
Yeah, that's what Sam Smith was trying to wrap his head around and failing. Because it is a fair question, I think. PJC1995 in the comments saying that, I want to see Modis and Phillips playing simultaneously, 2 6'10" dunkers who will put up threes. I would not mind. He was at one point my sweet special boy, Julian Phillips.
He was.
Believer in him.
He's not your sweet special boy no more?
Well, I mean, he still has a soft spot in my heart.
Uh-oh.
But, I mean, Modis is Modis.
Okay.
And, yesterday's toast is yesterday's toast.
Damn. Oh, my God.
But it's also like we've barely seen Phillips this season.
That's fair.
Like, he has not firmly established himself as somebody that Billy is always making sure he gets minutes for.
It's true.
This season, throughout all the juggling pieces, the moving parts, the starting lineup changing all the time, Phillips' minutes have been hard to come by.
Yeah.
No, and that's frustrating as someone who came into the season as a Julian Phillips believer who wanted to see more Julian Phillips minutes this season.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten them. They're
not there. Where are they? We're searching. We're finding.
We can't find them.
Can't find them.
There's no Julian.
Yeah, I want to see all the weird lineups involving the young guys, I'm saying. I want to see all the crazy lineups with those guys, and they're playing, getting a chance, you know what I mean, and just making mistakes, like continuing to make mistakes and growing, from those mistakes. So obviously it starts with Modis. We know that. 30-plus minutes is what Modis should be at right now. We should be getting his wind up. That's where he should be at, period. Forget 25. Give me 30 for that dude. As far as Julian Phillips and Dalen, yes, I want to see them more in, especially if we're talking about the future of the team and reevaluating in these next 30 games and reevaluating the team, then you should definitely be playing those guys. I don't know about Herter. I don't know about Trey Jones. I don't know about Collins. I don't know about Carter when I'm talking about evaluation and reevaluation and stuff like that. Maybe you do as Will said, just have them on the floor so other teams can see that they're alive and they could be out there doing stuff sometimes. But also Josh Giddey is part of that evaluation because I believe he will be a part of the Bulls' future, something we will definitely be talking about when the season goes into the offseason. And, of course, Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu, who we don't even speak about because we know Ayo Dosunmu is going to be here for this team. So Ayo is my definite and Modis is my definite. everybody else is a Woozy or a Wazi. It's kind of up in the air.
The other piece of news, as you know, we're talking about minutes and evaluation, roster stuff. The Bulls, I think shortly after we wrapped up our live pod yesterday, made the signing official of Jameer Young, who we haven't really touched on yet, to a 2-way contract. And in a subsequent move, the team waiving center Adama Sanogo, who I think maybe Colin in the comments was just being sad about his departure. And, you know, I think somebody else was that I was hanging out with in a Discord, that I heard Discord last night, was like, I can't believe we got rid of Sanogo. Like, what the heck? Well, he's injured right now. Yes. And the timeline for Sanogo was at least 4 weeks.
Yes.
Windy City Bulls season's wrapping up shortly after that.
Dunzo.
So it makes sense, and hopefully Sanogo will come back from this injury, and whether it's with the Bulls G League system or someone else, get another shot. But, of course, Bulls fans were getting plenty of jokes off. Like, wait, so this team that is so lacking in front court players in size, lets Sanogo go, and here let's bring in another guard, Jameer Young. Well, Sanogo's not healthy. I can't say I'm all that excited about Jameer Young. I don't know him all that well.
Yeah.
I remember watching him play a little bit at Maryland.
Sure.
He transferred. He also played at UNC Charlotte. But for the Nuggets G League affiliate this season, he was balling out. I'm talking 22.5 points, 7.5 assists, 4.5 boards, and 2 steals per game. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a pretty solid body of work across 30 games for the G League Nuggets. Mm. Will they take a closer look at him? Does he fit into this like evaluation period? Because he's not just, they didn't sign him to their G League team, they signed him to a 2-way.
Yeah.
He took Adama Sanogo's 2-way spot. Down the stretch of this season, and look, it goes to what Goat was talking about a little bit yesterday, is like, how aggressively do the Bulls want to like tank, not tank?
Yeah.
And risk the league looking over their direction? Mm-hmm. But you got all these young players. Mm-hmm. You got to take a look at it. Like, why bring this guy in?
Yeah,
just to like play out the final notes of your Windy City Bulls season.
You know, let me deal with the fun part of it, and then I want Will to give the smart part. I'll deal with
the bad part of it.
You deal with the smart part and why
we got fun,
it makes
bad,
logical
we got fun,
sense.
and we got
so
bad.
We'll do that. Optically, it's hilarious. Optically, it's just truly hilarious. We just sat here and talked about, you know, the amount of guards that the Bulls have, and then they go sign another guard, and 6'1",
a 24-year-old undrafted rookie.
Yes, and they bring him in on a 2-way and get rid of the size. Optically, I cracked up. I said, "Man, these dudes are wild." It's hilarious to me just seeing another guard come in on this roster and play. I don't want to forget EJ Liddell. I would love to see EJ Liddell up here and getting some time and seeing what he could do, because he could actually truly help your team in the future if he's healthy enough, which he has proven so far this year. But optically, it was a bad move for me, just optically and looking at it. It was pretty bad. So, yeah, it's just another guard. You have like 10 guards right now, and just looking at it, it's like, dude, again, another one. It's just another guard. All right, smart time.
But again, when you have this many guards, like, how many do you actually have? Mm-hmm. And so I think they're right to try guys out. I agree with you that like 24-year-old, like undrafted player, the pedigree there, obviously he played well in the G League. That counts for something. Sanogo, like they've had him for 2 years. They've evaluated him. They played him in the NBA from time to time. Like, I just don't think he was really impressing them enough or giving them enough reason to try him out at the NBA level. Mm-hmm. Clearly had drawbacks in his game. Was a talented rebounder and had good touch. There were, for sure, not to say he was like a bad player, but just I don't think he showed enough to warrant getting real NBA minutes. And so if that's the case, you got to have roster churn in those spots. That's what you're supposed to do as a rebuilding team. You bring guys in, you give them chances, and then you move on. So what's interesting about this, though, is that Keith Smith reported that Young signed a multi-year 2-way deal. Ooh. So I don't know how many years that would be. Is it the rest of this year and next? That would be my guess. And obviously, like, you can waive those guys and move on, and it doesn't. But that's just guaranteed money for him.
Sure.
So good for him.
Shout out.
But that's what the Bulls need to be doing. They need to be finding guys that could be on the next good Bulls team. And they felt like they had a good enough look at Sanogo, and he wasn't going to be that, and maybe Young could be.
Yeah, I do think Sanogo has a spot in the NBA. I do. There's a spot for a guy who can grab rebounds like that and score around the rim. You can find a spot for that. I just don't think it was going to work with the Bulls team and what they were doing. So that's fine.
I think it's more.
But I think he can get to another organization and probably get in this league.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think that he can't get to that point. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I really haven't seen enough of him at that level. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying the Bulls, by waiving him, obviously did not.
Correct. Which scares me because I've seen Bulls do this a few times. Just waive somebody with that talent that might go to the NBA and then, these guys are in the NBA doing pretty well. Yeah, it happens. But shout out to him, man.
It's a long list.
It's a long list, but shout out to him, bro. Like I really hope his career continues.
Some more understandable than others.
Yeah.
Like the one, why am I blanking on his name? Oh, Max Strus. That's the one that Bulls fans get pissed about all the time. I'm like, the dude had a torn ACL.
He did.
And was like on their G League team. No. And the Bulls were like floundering between trying to figure out if Fred Hoiberg or the bald-headed menace should be their coach.
Correct.
Strus was not really a high priority.
He was not.
Good for him for bringing his career back after such a devastating injury.
Shout out.
You know what is a high priority though? Is more likes on the stream.
Katie would like some likes.
There's only 26.
That's not an acceptable number.
You know the way she was holding that, I'm like, is she showing us that or is she about to toss that at us?
I was looking.
I was showing you.
Looking eerily similar to Peck when he takes the hat off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Don't make me. Yeah, I would never do that to my laptop. I spill beer on it, but I would never throw it.
But I mean, we've already established that we've been spending too much time together, so it wouldn't surprise me if I went full Peck.
The mind meld is getting a little dangerous. So shifting to tonight's actual basketball contest, I mentioned it in the open. The Bulls are 2-0 against the Knicks.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It is a little bit different this time around because Zach LaVine put up 30-plus in each of those two Ws against the Knicks.
Shout out to him.
In one of them, Kobe White also went off, tying a career-high mark by hitting 9 threes. And was it the D Rose night when the Bulls were down at half and then just exploded in that third quarter?
Absolutely.
I think they won the third quarter like 41-17.
Went crazy.
Yeah, the Knicks were on the second night of a back-to-back where they were at Oklahoma City and lost in overtime, I believe, and then came to Chicago and just lost, ran out of gas against the Bulls in the second half. But the Knicks are interesting right now, and obviously they're going to be missing OG Anunoby tonight. They're going to be missing Josh Hart tonight.
Correct.
A little bit shorthanded for a team that's already pretty shallow on depth here. But they have an interesting stretch ahead. You've got the Bulls tonight, obviously. Then you've got at Cleveland tomorrow, Boston on Sunday in Boston, and then Wednesday at Philly. So tough stretch for them, and I wonder... Is this the Bulls are just like prime trap game for all these good teams. It feels to me. That's kind of what I'm getting.
That's how you're looking at it from the opponent's perspective.
We could lose.
They did enter All-Star break on a roll. They won their last two. I think their last game before the break, Towns put up a 44 burger. They've won 8 of their last 10. Currently 36-18, twice as many wins as losses. Third place in the Eastern Conference. And you mentioned they will be without Anunoby tonight, who's dealing with a foot sprain. He was questionable and a very late scratch. Josh Hart out with a knee. And those guys, as you know, are one of the 5 that Tibbs has been leaning heavy on.
Yeah, man.
Minutes-wise for his starting 5 in New York. Minutes per game, you could do total minutes and or minutes per game. It's funny either way. But so this is minutes per game. Mikal Bridges, first in the NBA. Josh Hart, third in the NBA. OG Anunoby, 11th in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, 22nd. Towns, 25th. All 5 of their 5 starters are in the top 25 of minutes per game this season. And if you just switch it to total minutes played, it's basically the same thing.
Tibbs going to Tibbs, man.
Tibbs going to Tibbs.
He is who he is,
But
it's hard for him to change.
What is crazy is that for all of the time that he spent in Chicago being known as a defense-first coach, this Tibbs team, these Knicks, are the second best offense in the NBA right now coming into tonight's game. They have an offensive rating of 121.1. And a defensive rating right there in the middle of the pack, 115. But when you talk about the minutes played that he leans on with his starters, offensively, this team is humming, and they are all very, Brunson and Cat, you could say, are like the stars. We're talking about this team's 2 leading scorers. But, Katie, I don't know if you have those starters' points per game numbers, but, this is the production that they're getting from their starting 5, their regular starting 5. Not just 5 players averaging double figures, but 5 players averaging between 26 and essentially 15 points per game. So they're playing a lot, but they are producing.
Yeah, that's classic Tibbs. If you're going to play all those minutes, your numbers are going to be better. Like, that's how Tibbs has rolled forever. So I'm not surprised by that. Happy for those guys, putting up those numbers. Screw the Knicks, but happy for those guys putting up those numbers and doing those kind of things. And Karl-Anthony Towns is definitely the one for me that always stands out. His numbers, those 2 Bulls games, you mentioned the 40-burger already. The first game, he had 46 and 10. Like, he had 46 and 10 in the first one and 44 and 16 and 5 in the other one. And I believe he exited that game.
Yeah.
Because something was going on with his foot. So even with him not, healthy, he's still dropping 40 on the Bulls. So they should be very concerned, because why would that change? What have you done? You've gotten worse at that position now. So why would it change? So,
and the Knicks are pissed because they've lost to this team twice.
Yeah, and pissed and rested at the same time. So you mentioned top 25. They just had a whole week off, man. They've had time off. So even in the All-Star game, that was only like 5 minutes. So they definitely had time off to rest and recuperate. And you're coming back against a team that that you should be beating, and you don't want to win that season series, and it kind of means something to your coach too. I'm interested to see how they come out.
Yeah, and they should win this game even without the Hart and OG element.
Who, by the way, Precious Achiuwa and Deuce McBride replacing them in the starting lineup tonight.
Precious is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing with these Knicks teams is they've just kind of it's almost like they know Tibbs isn't going to play the bench anyway, so you may as well just get really durable, solid starters that are going to be able to withstand a ton of minutes throughout the regular season.
How are your knees?
But I mean, it's a lot of minutes especially when Josh Hart's thing. I think was it also tendinosis for his knee? I can't remember what it is exactly for him, but it was a similar just overuse injury, and so clearly they're going to have to. At some point, maybe they pay the piper on this one, but and it seems like obviously tonight he's going to be sitting out. But when the playoffs and when games start to really matter, that's when.
Josh Hart's official injury on the injury report: right knee patellofemoral syndrome. There's a mouthful.
Oh yeah, that's his stuff. Also, tank wise, I was looking at. It's hilarious because the top 3 teams in the East are playing the 10th, 11th, and 12th seed tonight.
Right.
So those top three are going to be playing the Bulls, the Sixers, and the Nets.
And the Celtics are already playing the Sixers and up 2.
So, you were saying essentially it's the injury for Josh Hart was overuse.
Yeah.
The fancy medical term, patellofemoral syndrome,
is
runner's knee. It is runner's knee. That is just artistically perfect for Tibbs' coach team for a player to have a runner's knee as his injury.
But also a team that's playing the Cavaliers tomorrow night in Cleveland. You probably want to be ready for that one.
Yeah.
And you feel like maybe you can take care of the Bulls tonight without him. So the strategic element there too, I think. But I mean, it's certainly something they're going to be needing to keep an eye on and keep track of as they try to make a deep playoff run.
That's true. Ball for Life Shy Bulls is asking in the comments for a tankathon spin tonight. And Katie, with the proper response, if we get a proper amount of likes in postgame, then we'll do a tankathon spin. We're not going to do it now. Wouldn't make sense to do it now.
No.
You haven't earned it. Also, the Bulls haven't earned it yet. Bulls got to go out there and take an L.
How do you think the Bulls come out in this one, man? Just with all the changes and everything like that. We know how they beat the Knicks. It was nearly the 3-point shooting and just some incredible jobs by Zach LaVine. Now, without Zach being there, it's going to be a more team-oriented kind of game for them.
This Knicks offense is for real. The Bulls were putting up close to 140 in each of those first 2 wins.
Yeah, man.
And that offense, as they crawled to the All-Star break, what were they shooting from 3? 12%, spanning a few games there?
They struggled the last couple of games. I do think that this trade deadline had it weighed on these guys. And I think now, obviously, Zach is gone. Booch is still around. They still have Lonzo's. They have good players on their roster. I think there's going to be nights where they make a lot of their threes and they just look like they're the good version of what they looked like pre-All-Star. And I think there's probably going to be more nights, more often than not, where they look like they're really overmatched in terms of talent compared to other teams and also defensively just not being able to contain anything. And so on a night like this, Could they be the really hot team that makes 25 threes and wins? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But could they also really struggle to guard Brunson and Towns pick and roll and not be able to stop them and also miss some threes and lose by 25? Absolutely. It's just, it feels like there's these two extremes with the Bulls in terms of they look like super competent pace and space and running and making threes, or the whatever it was that we watched against the Pistons in that first game. And there's just not a lot of middle ground there.
Whatever that was that we watched, man, wow, that first Bulls Pistons game right before the break, that was something.
That was something.
That was 71 to 29 and a half.
Hey, that's what it was. Woo. That happened. It literally happened.
Well, we have reached 6:30 Central Time. That means tip-off right around the corner. Bulls Knicks at the Garden. Oh, man. Younger me wishes that this game meant something, because there's nothing better than Bulls Knicks at the Garden.
It's so true.
Speaking of someone who's been thrown out of Bulls Knicks at the Garden.
That's a flex.
It used to be a thing.
Shout out to his brother.
Hey, shout out brother Dave. But hey, the Bulls could theoretically get the season series sweep against the Knicks tonight.
It's true.
That is a thing that is on the table.
It's a thing, man.
Let's see if they can pull it off. Yeah. We will be right back here for live postgame. Either way, shout out to our Hawks crew also, who are doing their final show tonight for the Four Nations tournament that's been going on during the All-Star break for NHL. The USA-Canada Championship game tonight. So that you got that on deck, too, if you're watching both Bulls basketball and some epic hockey going on.
Let's go.
Hit the like. Also, shout out to Emma, who gave me this new we dropped our new St. Patty's collection at the ALLCITY merch locker. Go check them out. I am a day drinking champion.
This is true.
I got into a fight about it with Pat, who tried to say that he could beat me at day drinking.
Wow.
He said, "Look at me and my heritage."
He did say that.
Matt has said, I am the only person, or one of the few people who can outdrink him.
Yeah.
So
and not
Pat
every
stepping
time.
up and saying that's a challenge.
You and I can go toe
I said,
to
why are
toe.
we still talking? And why are we not drinking?
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah. He's already on it.
Bulls Knicks. We'll see you for post game. Hit the like.
Let's go, Pat. Get to it. Peace, y'all.
That child. His liver's dorky.
We all silly like the mayor.